After the battle of the twin emperors, when the flames of war finally fell silent, Xiaoyan vanished from the world. Years later, in the depths of the Central Plains, a single speck of fire was born, small enough to rest on a fingertip, yet powerful enough to erase heaven and earth. They would soon learn its name, Heavenly Speck, and when it appeared, even divine artifacts would turn to dust. This was a destructive skill created by Xiaoyan after the battle of the twin emperors. During his period of seclusion in Central Plains, Xiaoyan named it Heavenly Speck. When the Heavenly Speck appears, heaven and earth collapse. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. Continuing from before, dense, exquisitely formed flame lotuses blanketed the sky layer upon layer, as if an ocean of fire had been suspended in mid-air. Each lotus slowly rotated its petals, glowing with intricate patterns, releasing waves of destruction so oppressive that the surrounding space itself began to distort. The air screamed. Even Huang Yunpo, standing at the center of the battlefield, felt his heart skip a beat. For the first time since the battle began, a trace of unease flashed through his blood-red eyes. Yet the next moment that unease turned into ridicule. "Do you really think," he said coldly, lips curling into a sneer, "that this little bit of power is enough to defeat me?" As his words fell, the blood-red aura around his body surged violently. His entire physique trembled, and crimson light patterns burst forth from his skin like living veins, spreading outward in complex ancient formations. In that instant, the world seemed to freeze. The countless flame lotuses, which had been on the verge of detonation, suddenly halted in mid-air, as though time itself had been locked in place. They no longer rotated. They no longer trembled. They were sealed. A deathly silence descended. Then, boom! Xiaoyan's low, calm voice echoed across heaven and earth, cutting through the silence like a divine decree. The next moment, an extremely violent fluctuation erupted from the immobilized flame lotuses. One flame lotus detonated, and like a spark igniting dry grass, the explosion instantly triggered the rest. Boom, boom, boom. Thousands upon thousands of flame lotuses erupted in a terrifying chain reaction, their explosions overlapping and amplifying one another until destruction itself seemed to lose all restraint. The entire mountain range shook violently, peaks collapsing, ravines tearing open, as if the land were screaming beneath the onslaught. Thick smoke and scorching dust surged skyward, swallowing half of the mountains in an instant. The battlefield vanished into chaos. Ha ha ha! Suddenly, a wild, unrestrained laugh rang out from within the smoke. "Is that all you've got?" A blood-red figure burst forth from the dust cloud, tearing through the flames and debris like a meteor. It was Huang Yunpo. His aura showed no sign of weakening. Instead, it burned even more fiercely. As he charged forward, a flash of crimson light flickered in his hand. In the blink of an eye, a blood-red spear over 1 zhang long condensed out of pure divine radiance. The moment it appeared, an overwhelming pressure spread across the battlefield, causing nearby experts to feel their scalps tingle. This was no ordinary weapon. It was a divine artifact one Huang Yunpo had obtained from the Blood God clan itself. Its presence alone seemed to thirst for slaughter. With the spear in hand, Huang Yunpo's intent became unmistakably clear. He had lost his patience. He intended to end this battle now. However, upon witnessing this, Xiaoyan dismissed his supreme Dharma body without hesitation. The towering manifestation of supreme power behind him slowly faded, its radiant presence dissolving into the void as if it had never existed. He then slowly raised his right hand. There was no surge of energy, no earth-shaking movement. Yet at the moment, his palm opened, a 7-colored flame seed, no larger than a fingernail, quietly emerged. It floated above his palm in utter silence. At the same time, the raging sea of flames that had engulfed the battlefield began to withdraw. Like a tide obeying an unseen command, the fire receded from every direction, vanishing layer by layer into nothingness. Huang Yunpo's gaze locked onto the scene. First, he watched the endless flames rapidly disappear. Then his eyes shifted to the tiny dazzling flame seed resting in Xiaoyan's hand. Shock exploded across his face. You compressed all the flames within thousands of miles. His voice turned hoarse, into a single point. The disappearance of the flame sea caused even Luo Jutian, along with the surrounding Supreme Realm experts still locked in combat, to freeze mid-motion. Blades halted. Techniques stalled. Every horrified gaze turned in unison toward the source of that terrifying fluctuation. The flame seed hovered quietly in Xiaoyan's palm, its colors constantly shifting, 7 hues flowing, intertwining, separating and recombining. It was small, so small that it seemed insignificant. Yet the destructive aura it emitted pressed down upon everyone present, making their scalps tingle and their souls instinctively tremble. It felt as though their very lives were being weighed in that tiny speck of fire. "This should be your strongest move," Huang Yunpo said suddenly, his charging figure coming to an abrupt halt in mid-air. "Right? Who knows?" Xiaoyan replied lightly, a faint, almost amused smile appearing on his face. Huang Yunpo's expression stiffened. The next moment it darkened. "You still have something stronger. For example." Xiaoyan calmly stabilized the dazzling flame seed with one hand. At the same time, his other hand slowly rose. As his fingers spread apart, a 6-colored flame surged upward, its aura sharp, profound, and ancient. The moment it appeared, the surrounding space distorted once more. 6 profound heavenly flame. Huang Yunpo's pupils shrank violently. "The sect-guarding flame of the 6 profound sect," he exclaimed, unable to suppress his shock. "It actually fell into your hands." He recognized it instantly, and the realization sent a chill through his heart. Xiaoyan flicked his finger. The 6 profound heavenly flame shot forward in a streak of radiant light, ripping through the void under Huang Yunpo's stunned gaze, and plunged straight into the 7-colored flame seed. There was no explosion, no sound. Yet the instant the 2 flames fused, a wave of destruction, far more terrifying than anything before, erupted outward. The surrounding space caved in layer by layer, as if unable to withstand the pressure of that existence. Even time itself seemed to hesitate. Huang Yunpo's expression finally sank. The instinctive confidence he had maintained until now was wiped away without a trace. "Then let me experience." Xiaoyan's calm voice echoed across the battlefield. "The power of a true expert of the Great Thousand World." This destructive skill, created by Xiaoyan after the Battle of the Twin Emperors during his long seclusion in the Central Plains, could be said to be the evolved culmination of the Buddha's wrath flame lotus. Its name, Heavenly Speck. When the Heavenly Speck manifests, heaven and earth are annihilated. "Then let me see." Huang Yunpo's low, thunderous voice rumbled in response. What kind of heaven-shaking ability a man from a lower plane truly possesses? As his words fell, a dark red glow burst forth in his hand. The crimson light twisted and condensed rapidly, forming into a blood-red staff, roughly 1 jang long. The moment it took shape, an aura of corrosion spread across the battlefield, as though it could erode both heaven and earth alike. Nearby experts felt their hearts pound violently, instinctively, drawing in sharp breaths of cold air. This fluctuation had clearly surpassed the limits of ordinary spiritual artifacts. It was a true divine artifact. More precisely, a mid-grade divine artifact. Huang Yunpo pushed his spiritual power to its absolute limit. Violent waves of energy surged through his meridians, howling like a raging storm. Veins bulged along his arm as he tightened his grip around the blood demon's staff, a cruel, contemptuous smile slowly spreading across his face. In the next instant, the space before him distorted violently. Huang Yunpo vanished from where he stood and reappeared directly in front of Xiaoyan, moving so fast it was as if distance itself had been erased. "This blood demon's staff," he sneered coldly, his voice carrying an unmistakable arrogance. "I didn't even bother using it when I fought Luo Jutian." His eyes gleamed with murderous intent as he raised the weapon high. "Today I'll show you enough respect." He continued mockingly, "You break through Cultivator from a lower plane." The blood demon's staff descended with terrifying force, dragging crimson light in its wake. The air shattered under its weight as the blow smashed down toward Xiao, carrying power that seemed capable of crushing mountains. Yet Xiao remained utterly calm. He slowly lifted the radiant flame seed in his right hand. It glowed brilliantly warm and dazzling, as if it contained the essence of life itself. Without hesitation, he gently pushed it forward. A cold, resolute voice echoed through the battlefield. "Sorry about that. I promised Senior Liu Beidao that I would take your head." As his words fell, the blood demon's staff collided fiercely with the tiny flame seed. There was no earth-shaking explosion, no violent clash of energies. Instead, it felt as though the staff had struck nothing at all, as if it had smashed into empty space. In the blink of an eye, the once brilliant flame seed vanished completely, leaving behind only silence. Huang Yunpo froze, his pupils shrinking violently. Then, as his gaze dropped to the weapon in his hand, his expression turned rigid with disbelief. A hole no larger than a fingernail had appeared cleanly through the body of the blood demon's staff, and through that tiny opening destruction quietly spread. "What is this?" The shout had barely left his lips when a blinding radiance erupted from Huang Yunpo's chest. A flame seed, small, brilliant, and terrifying, had already appeared there. It pulsed softly, yet within that gentle glow lay power, capable of obliterating worlds. Only at this moment did realization crash down upon him like thunder. Xiao flame seed had never been stopped. It hadn't been deflected. It hadn't been resisted. Instead, with an unimaginably high temperature, it had directly vaporized a portion of the divine artifact itself, reducing divine material to nothingness in a single instant. This was not destruction. This was annihilation, an existence that could not be blocked, only avoided. I refuse to believe this. Huang Yunpo roared fury and disbelief, twisting his features as he retreated explosively, tearing through the air. "You think I can't block something this small?" His voice thundered across the battlefield, shaking the heavens. Never in his wildest nightmares had he imagined this outcome. An 8th grade supreme, a wielder of a divine artifact. Yet after only a few brief exchanges, he had been forced into a disadvantage by a mere junior from a lower plane. Blood-red energy erupted violently from his body, surging skyward like an ocean of slaughter. The blood demon's staff in his grasp trembled, then began to expand at a terrifying speed. In a single breath, the weapon transformed. The staff grew larger and larger, stretching endlessly until it became a colossal pillar of crimson light. Thousands of zhang in length, towering like a divine weapon, forged to pierce the heavens themselves. The tiny hole left behind by the heavenly speck no longer seemed insignificant. As the staff expanded, that floor expanded with it, spreading rapidly, tearing open to nearly 100 zhang wide. A grotesque scar carved into a divine artifact, a silent testament to a power that should not have existed. And through that widening void, destruction continued to seep outward. Huang Yunpo swung the divine artifact with all his strength, pouring his remaining power into the blow as he smashed it violently toward the oncoming heavenly speck. The colossal blood demon staff howled through the void, its crimson light tearing apart space itself as it descended. Xiao, however, stood calmly amid the chaos, suspended in the emptiness of the void. His expression never changed, not a flicker of surprise, not a trace of tension, as if the outcome had already been decided. Even the distant battlefields fell eerily silent. Clashes that had raged moments before came to a standstill. Countless cultivators turned their gazes toward the same point, holding their breath. Everyone wanted to know, could Heavenly Speck truly threaten Huang Yunpo? Could a power so small, so seemingly fragile, actually challenge an 8th grade supreme wielding a divine artifact? In the very next instant, a sharp cracking sound echoed through the heavens. Fine fractures appeared on the surface of the massive blood demon staff. Starting from the point where it collided with Heavenly Speck, Those cracks spread outward at a terrifying speed. Segment by segment, inch by inch, the divine artifact shattered, its once indestructible body collapsing like brittle glass. The void trembled as fragments of divine metal disintegrated into nothingness. Huang Yunpo's pupils shrank violently, his mind going completely blank. Even a divine artifact couldn't stop it. To him, the destruction of a divine artifact was nothing short of catastrophic. He had paid an enormous price to obtain this weapon from the Blood God clan, staking Favor's resources and countless years of accumulation. He had even once boasted that with this staff in hand, he could suppress the entire northwestern frontier of the Luo God clan's continent. And now, that same divine artifact was being erased before his eyes, not shattered by brute force, not broken by overwhelming power, but erased. Yet now, it had been destroyed by a single speck of light. The contrast was almost absurd. Huang Yunpo stared at the collapsing divine artifact, his heart bleeding as fragments of divine metal vanished into the void. No matter how strong it is, he muttered darkly, his voice hoarse, it's already at its limit. A vicious glint flashed through his eyes. His hands moved at blinding speed, forming seal after seal as the shattered remains of the blood demon's staff trembled violently. Crimson runes ignited one after another, burning with desperate madness. As the divine artifact continued to disintegrate, Huang Yunpo forced out one final violent strike. He gathered everything he had left, his remaining spiritual power, his fury, his unwillingness to accept defeat, and hurled it toward the now slightly dimmed heavenly speck. The void roared. Seeing this, Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. For the first time, a trace of seriousness flickered across his calm expression. He turned his head slightly, his voice soft but resolute as it rang beside Gu Luoshan. "Senior Gu Luoshan, lend me your flames." The words were quiet, but in that instant the temperature of the heavens began to rise. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.